Across deserts,
Across
deep beneath
deserts and beneath oceans,
and carved into
humanity
forgotten
has
stones,
uncovered puzzles
traces
carved
of
into
an
stone
ancient
and
story
sand.
still remain. Symbols we cannot read,
From
monuments
the
we
depths
cannot
of Loch Ness
explain,
to the
and
mysteries
secrets
of
we
Chichen
cannot
Itza,
fully
these
uncover,
wonders challenge our
all
understanding.
pointing to knowledge long lost in time. These are
Deep
not just
in the North
legends,
Atlantic
but
lies
puzzles
Oak
left
Island,
behind for
where
us to
generations have chased
Stay
the
with
riddle
us,
of the money pit.
explore the unknown, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because every mystery holds a truth waiting to be discovered. Nazca lies high above the arid deserts of southern Peru, lies a site that has puzzled humanity for centuries. Etched into the barren landscape are vast geoglyphs, the mysterious figures we now call the Nazca lines. Some are simple straight lines stretching across miles of desert. Others form massive shapes of animals, plants, and even humanoid figures. They were created between 500 BC and 500 AD by the ancient Nazca civilization. And while they have endured for nearly 2 millennia, their true purpose remains uncertain. Standing on the ground, the lines appear as little more than shallow paths. But from above, in an aerial view, the desert transforms into a canvas, revealing a giant hummingbird, a sprawling monkey, a delicate spider, and more. Each one spans hundreds of feet, crafted with precision and scale that feels far ahead of its time. Archaeologists believe the Nazca people achieved this by carefully removing the reddish pebbles that coat the desert floor, exposing the lighter soil beneath. The technique was simple, but the execution required planning, coordination, and an extraordinary understanding of proportions. Why go to such lengths? Theories abound. Some researchers suggest the lines served as an astronomical calendar, aligning with solstices and equinoxes. Others argue they were part of vast ceremonial sites, ritual offerings to deities in a region where water was scarce and survival depended on the whims of nature. Another possibility is symbolic communication, messages carved not for people on the ground, but for gods watching from the sky. Yet this only deepens the puzzle. How could a culture with no means of flight design figures that can only be fully appreciated from above? Over the years, alternative ideas have surfaced. Some propose that the lines were created as pathways for ritual processions, meant to be walked, not seen. Others, more speculative, link them to extraterrestrial contact, signals or landing strips for beings from beyond Earth. While science offers no evidence for such claims, the mystery continues to invite speculation. Today, as airplanes pass over the Nazca Desert, the figures still provoke awe. Silent, unmoving, they stretch across the desert like messages written for eternity. They remind us that an ancient people once carved their world into the earth itself, for reasons we may never fully grasp. And perhaps that is the essence of their power. Some questions are meant to linger, etched into history like the lines themselves, leaving us to wonder not only how they were made, but why. Oak Island Money Pit, deep in the North Atlantic, off the coast of Nova Scotia, lies a small piece of land, quiet, covered in trees, and seemingly ordinary. But Oak Island carries a mystery that has puzzled treasure hunters, historians, and explorers for over 2 centuries. At the heart of this mystery stands what has come to be known as the Oak Island Money Pit. The story begins in 1795, when a young man named Daniel McGinnis stumbled upon a strange depression in the ground. Curious, he gathered a few friends, and together they began to dig. Just a few feet down, they found wooden planks carefully placed, as if someone had deliberately constructed a shaft. With every 10 feet, more wooden platforms appeared. It was clear this was no natural formation. Something had been buried here with great effort and secrecy. Over the years, numerous expeditions returned to the site, convinced that unimaginable treasure lay hidden below. Legends soon tied the money pit to the riches of pirates like Captain Kidd, or even the lost treasures of the Knights Templar. Some whispered of Shakespeare's manuscripts, secret royal jewels, or ancient artifacts brought across the ocean. The deeper explorers dug, the stronger these theories became. But Oak Island never gave up its secrets easily. Every attempt to reach the bottom met with disaster. At around 90 feet, a mysterious stone slab was discovered, carved with symbols that no one could fully translate. Not long after, the shaft began to flood with seawater, as if an elaborate booby trap had been triggered. Efforts to pump out the water failed, and the flooding seemed to come directly from the ocean itself, channeled through hidden tunnels. Whoever built the pit had engineered it with astonishing precision. Throughout the 19th and 20th centuries, treasure hunters spent fortunes and sometimes their lives trying to solve the riddle. New shafts were dug, drilling attempts made, and traces of gold chain, parchment, and metal fragments were reported. But no final discovery ever came, only more mystery. The pit seemed to consume more than it revealed, earning a reputation as both a promise and a curse. Even modern technology has struggled to break through. Excavation has revealed complex flood tunnels, false leads, and collapsed shafts. Each layer only deepens the question: what, if anything, was important enough to bury under such elaborate protection? Was it truly treasure, or was it knowledge, sealed away for reasons we may never understand? Today, Oak Island remains one of the world's most enduring enigmas. Generations have searched, investing time, wealth, and hope, only to be left with fragments of answers. The Money Pit continues to stand as both a challenge and a warning. Perhaps the greatest mystery is not what lies at the bottom, but why it was hidden in the first place. And so, Oak Island keeps its secret, waiting, as if the Earth itself is guarding a story meant to be discovered only when the time is right. Antikythera mechanism from the depths of the sea. A small, corroded machine emerged, one that would forever change our understanding of history. It is known as the Antikythera mechanism, a mysterious device that challenges what we thought we knew about ancient technology. In 1901, divers exploring a shipwreck near the Greek island of Antikythera discovered it. At first, it looked like nothing more than a lump of rusted bronze. But soon, scholars realized they were holding an extraordinary artifact, a complex system of gears that seemed centuries ahead of its time. This device, dating back over 2,000 years, was housed in a wooden box and contained more than 30 precisely cut bronze gears. The craftsmanship is so delicate and accurate that it feels almost modern, raising one crucial question: how could such technology exist in 100 BC? Research suggests that the Antikythera mechanism was a kind of ancient astronomical calculator. It could track the movements of the sun and moon, predict eclipses, and perhaps even determine the timing of the Olympic Games. In essence, the Greeks may have built a portable model of the universe. What deepens the mystery is that nothing else like it has ever been found. If it was the work of a lone genius, then who was he? And if it belonged to a broader tradition of technology, where are the other examples? Modern imaging techniques, like X-ray scans and digital reconstructions, have given us glimpses into its design, but its full purpose and origin remain uncertain. The fact that such precision engineering existed more than a millennium before the Industrial Age forces us to reconsider the limits of ancient knowledge. Was the Antikythera mechanism part of a lost scientific tradition, now buried by time? Or was it a singular masterpiece, created once and never again? Whatever the truth, this fragile bronze relic reminds us that the human mind has always reached further than we imagine. And somewhere, beneath the waves or hidden in forgotten ruins, other secrets may still lie waiting to be discovered. Shroud of Turin. The Shroud of Turin, a single piece of ancient linen, measuring just over 4 meters long, has captivated historians, scientists, and believers for centuries. Resting today in the Cathedral of St. John the Baptist in Turin, Italy, it bears the faint, haunting image of a man, marked with wounds that mirror those described in the crucifixion of Jesus Christ. First recorded in the 14th century in France, the cloth has since become one of the most studied religious relics in history. To many, it is a sacred testimony of Christ's suffering and resurrection. To others, it remains a medieval creation, a relic born of devotion rather than history. The linen itself is woven in a herringbone pattern, consistent with fabrics known from the 1st century, but also not unknown in later medieval Europe. What makes the shroud extraordinary, however, is the image imprinted upon it. A front and back view of a human figure, lying with arms crossed, the the face bearing a serene but unmistakably lifeless expression. Closer inspection reveals markings that resemble scourge wounds, punctures around the scalp, and a side wound, all echoing biblical accounts of crucifixion. Modern science entered the debate in the 20th century. In 1898, when amateur photographer Secondo Pia captured the shroud on film, he made a startling discovery. The photographic negative revealed a strikingly clear, almost three-dimensional face, a detail invisible to the naked eye. This discovery propelled the shroud into worldwide fascination, transforming it from a relic of local veneration into a global mystery. Scientific examinations have brought both insights and controversies. Radiocarbon dating conducted in 1988 suggested the cloth originated between 1260 and 1390, aligning with its first recorded appearance. Yet critics argue that the samples may have been contaminated or taken from repaired sections of the linen, raising doubts about the accuracy of those results. Beyond dating, no artist or forger has ever been able to fully replicate the unique qualities of the image. The coloration on the fibers does not penetrate deeply into the cloth, behaving more like a surface-level scorch than a painted pigment. No known medieval technique can account for such an effect. Bloodstains present another layer of complexity. Analyses suggest the presence of real human blood, complete with traces of hemoglobin and serum separation, as would be expected from wounds left untreated at death. Still, detractors caution that such findings remain open to interpretation and may not serve as definitive proof. Centuries of devotion, doubt, and investigation leave the Shroud of Turin suspended in a space between faith and science. Is it a miraculous relic bearing witness to an event that changed history, or a carefully crafted symbol meant to inspire the faithful of the Middle Ages? As it rests in its climate-controlled chamber, the shroud waits in silence, challenging both skeptics and believers. And perhaps its greatest mystery is not only how it came to be, but why, after so many centuries, its image still looks back at us with eyes that seem to ask questions we may never fully answer. Loch Ness Monster. For centuries, deep in the misty highlands of Scotland, a vast freshwater lake has guarded one of the world's most enduring mysteries, the Loch Ness Monster. Known affectionately as Nessie, this elusive creature has captivated imaginations, stirred debate, and inspired countless searches across generations. Loch Ness itself is the perfect setting for such a legend. Stretching nearly 23 miles long and plunging over 750 feet deep, it contains more water than all the lakes of England and Wales combined. Its dark, peat-stained waters conceal what lies beneath, making it easy for shadows, waves, and shapes to play tricks on the human eye. Yet, through history, many claim that the loch holds something more than illusions. The first recorded sighting dates back to the 6th century, when St. Columba reportedly encountered a water beast in the River Ness. Though centuries passed with little evidence, the modern fascination began in 1933, when a couple driving along the loch reported seeing a massive creature rolling and plunging in the water. Newspapers seized on the story, and within months, the Loch Ness Monster became an international phenomenon. Photographs soon followed, the most famous being the surgeon's photograph of 1934, showing a long neck rising above the waves. For decades, this image was considered proof until, in the 1990s, it was revealed to be a hoax, crafted with a toy submarine and a sculpted head. Still, the debunking did little to diminish public fascination. Scientists have approached the mystery with curiosity and skepticism alike. In the 1960s and 70s, sonar expeditions revealed unexplained large moving objects beneath the loch's surface. In 2018, a major DNA study sampled the loch's waters and cataloged all detectable life forms. While the study found evidence of plentiful eels, it concluded there were no signs of large, unknown animals, dinosaurs, or reptiles. Some researchers suggested that oversized eels could explain the sightings, while others pointed to waves, optical illusions, or floating debris. Yet, despite technology and careful study, the Loch Ness Monster refuses to be neatly dismissed. Local witnesses continue to report unexplained shapes gliding across the water. Tourists still gather, scanning the horizon for a ripple or a shadow, and the loch itself, deep, dark, and mysterious, remains a fitting stage for unanswered questions. Is Nessie a misinterpreted natural phenomenon, a lingering folktale that thrives on belief, or something science has yet to uncover? The answer continues to hide beneath the waters of Loch Ness, waiting, perhaps, for the right moment to surface. And so, as the mist settles once more on Scotland's most famous lake, the legend endures, inviting us to wonder what might still lurk in the depths of the unknown. Bigfoot in the dense forests of North America, where ancient pines cast endless shadows and silence lingers like a secret, there is a legend that refuses to fade: Bigfoot. For centuries, witnesses have claimed to encounter a towering, ape-like figure that seems to exist somewhere between myth and reality. The earliest stories come not from modern explorers, but from indigenous tribes across the continent. The Salish, the Lummi, and many others spoke of a wild, hairy man of the woods, sometimes feared, sometimes respected. These oral traditions existed long before the term Bigfoot was coined in the mid-20th century. To them, the creature was not a fantasy, but a presence woven into the natural world. It wasn't until 1958 that the mystery captured global attention. A bulldozer operator named Jerry Crew discovered massive footprints pressed deep into the soil of a California work site. Newspapers ran the story, calling the unknown creature Bigfoot, and a modern legend was born. The footprints measured up to 16 inches long, too large for any human, and left experts questioning whether they were elaborate hoaxes or signs of something undiscovered. Then, in 1967, came the most famous piece of evidence: the Patterson-Gimlin film. Shot in Bluff Creek, California, the grainy footage appears to show a massive, upright figure striding across a clearing before disappearing into the trees. For decades, researchers, skeptics, and scientists have analyzed every frame, studying muscle movement, gait, and proportion. Some argue it is too natural to be a costume. Others dismiss it as a clever fabrication. To this day, no definitive conclusion has been reached. Reports have poured in from across North America. Strange howls in the night, shadowy figures glimpsed through the trees, and footprints stretching across frozen ground. Cryptozoologists suggest that if Bigfoot is real, it may be a relic species, something like Gigantopithecus, a giant ape that roamed Asia hundreds of thousands of years ago. Could a population have crossed the land bridge into North America and survived in remote wilderness? Skeptics, however, point to the lack of physical evidence. No bones, no bodies, no DNA samples confirmed beyond doubt. They argue that in an age of satellite imagery, drones, and advanced tracking, a creature of such size should have been documented long ago. And yet, the sightings continue, scattered like whispers across forests, mountains, and swamps. Perhaps Bigfoot is not just about discovery, but about the allure of the unknown. In a world increasingly mapped and measured, the idea that something vast and uncharted still roams the wilderness keeps imagination alive. So, the question remains, is Bigfoot a myth born from human storytelling, or a survivor from a forgotten age? For now, the forests hold their silence, and the mystery walks on, just beyond the edge of certainty. Phaistos Disc. The story of the Phaistos Disc begins in 1908, on the island of Crete, where Italian archaeologist Luigi Pernier unearthed something unlike anything the ancient world had ever revealed before. Buried within the ruins of the Minoan palace of Phaistos lay a circular clay disc, no larger than a man's hand, yet carrying an enigma that continues to baffle scholars more than a century later. The disc is made of fired clay, about 15 centimeters in diameter, and stamped on both sides with a spiral arrangement of symbols. There are exactly 242 characters in total, pressed into the surface with precision, forming what seems to be an intentional and systematic script. Unlike other inscriptions carved or painted, these symbols were stamped, suggesting that whoever created the disc used reusable tools, perhaps even an early form of printing technology, thousands of years before the printing press was invented. The symbols themselves are striking. Some resemble human figures, others animals, plants, tools, or abstract shapes. They appear to follow a repeating pattern, almost like words in a sentence. Yet the script is unlike Linear A or Linear B, the known writing systems of the Minoan world. To this day, no one has been able to translate the language, or even confirm whether it represents a language at all. Over the years, theories have flourished. Some argue the disc is a prayer or hymn, its spiral text symbolizing a ritual journey toward the center. Others suggest it may be a record of military events, a legal code, or even a game board. A few have claimed it could be a forgery, planted by Pernier himself to stir excitement around his excavations. Yet no definitive proof has ever settled the matter. The disc also raises questions about technology. If the symbols were stamped, does that mean the Minoans had developed a form of movable type more than 3,000 years before Gutenberg? So why is there only one known example? No other artifacts from that time bear the same technique, leaving the Phaistos disc standing alone, a solitary puzzle piece without its larger picture. Despite advances in computational analysis, statistical modeling, and linguistic comparison, the mystery holds firm. Each attempt at decipherment runs into the same obstacle. There is no other text in this script to compare it with. Without a Rosetta Stone equivalent, the disc resists all efforts to unlock its voice. Today, the Phaistos disc rests in the Heraclean Archaeological Museum in Crete. Visitors stand before its glass case, drawn not by its size but by the sense of untold stories pressed into its clay surface. What message did the ancient hands intend to preserve? Was it a sacred chant, a political decree, or something far more ordinary that time has transformed into legend? Until more evidence comes to light, the Phaistos disc remains what it has always been. A riddle pressed in clay, whispering from the deep past, yet refusing to be understood. Baigong pipes high in the remote mountains of Qinghai Province, China, stands a peculiar site that has puzzled scientists, explorers, and researchers for decades. On the desolate slopes of Mount Baigong lies a formation that defies simple explanation. Strange, tube-like structures embedded deep within both rock and sand. They are known today as the Baigong pipes. At first glance, the pipes seem artificial, as though they were once part of some forgotten industrial system. Many of them are hollow and cylindrical, measuring from a few centimeters to as wide as 40 centimeters across. Some lead directly into the mountain itself, while others stretch toward a nearby saltwater lake, partially buried beneath layers of sediment. Their arrangement gives the impression of deliberate design, as if they were once meant to transport something, though no one can say for certain what that was. The site first came to public attention in the late 1990s, when explorers visiting the region reported finding these odd pipe-like structures protruding from the mountain face. Chinese scientists soon conducted surveys and confirmed the presence of the unusual tubes. Radiocarbon dating on the materials surrounding them indicated astonishing results. Some of the pipes may be as much as 150,000 years old. This raised immediate questions. How could a system resembling man-made plumbing exist long before recorded civilization in the region? Chemical analysis added another layer of intrigue. Tests revealed that the pipes are composed primarily of iron, but also contain trace amounts of elements such as silicon and calcium. Even more curious, a portion of the iron showed signs of crystallization, a process that normally requires extremely high temperatures. Nature, it seemed, had forged something unusual, but could it truly explain the symmetrical, tube-like structures stretching across the landscape? Some geologists propose that the Baigong pipes may be the result of natural processes. One theory suggests that mineral-rich groundwater once seeped through cracks in the rock, hardening into iron deposits over thousands of years. As softer materials eroded, hollow tube-like shapes remained, giving the illusion of pipes. Others, however, argue that the uniformity and scale of the structures hint at something more intentional, whether ancient human engineering or, as fringe theorists have suggested, evidence of technology from beyond Earth. Despite occasional interest, large-scale excavation or detailed research has never been carried out at the site. The remoteness of Mount Baigong, combined with harsh conditions and limited accessibility, has left the mystery largely untouched. Today, the pipes remain embedded in stone and soil, silent reminders of a puzzle that resists clear answers. Standing before them, one is left to wonder. Are these tubes a forgotten trace of early civilization, a quirk of geology, or a relic of something far older and stranger than human history records? For now, the bygone pipes remain locked in silence, carrying their secret deep within the mountain. Baghdad Battery. The story begins in the dusty ruins near Baghdad, where archaeologists uncovered an object that would puzzle the modern world. At first glance, it seemed ordinary, a clay jar no larger than a hand's length. But hidden inside was something that did not belong to the ancient age it came from. A hollow copper cylinder, sealed with asphalt, and containing an iron rod. Together, these simple components resembled the design of a primitive battery. This discovery, now known as the Baghdad Battery, dates back nearly 2,000 years to the Parthian or Sasanian period. Its unassuming shape carries within it one of archaeology's most enduring mysteries. If filled with a liquid like vinegar or grape juice, the jar could create an electric charge, much like the first batteries reinvented in the 18th century. But how could such knowledge have existed centuries before modern science even imagined it? Some researchers suggest that the Baghdad Battery may have been used for electroplating, coating objects in a thin layer of precious metal. This theory is tempting, since artifacts with unusually bright finishes have been found in the region. Others believe it might have served in religious rituals, creating a mysterious spark that reinforced faith in the unseen. Yet, no conclusive evidence exists to prove either possibility. Equally compelling is what the jar represents about lost knowledge. Ancient civilizations were far from primitive. They observed the natural world with precision and often stumbled upon technologies long before they were fully understood. Could the Baghdad Battery be a remnant of such forgotten experimentation? Or was it merely a storage vessel, its strange resemblance to a battery nothing more than coincidence? Attempts to replicate the device in modern laboratories have shown it can indeed generate small amounts of electricity, enough perhaps to power a single faint spark. But whether this was intentional or accidental remains unanswered. The absence of written records or similar devices in large numbers leaves the mystery unresolved. Today, the Baghdad Battery sits quietly in a museum, a clay jar holding centuries of unanswered questions. It challenges our assumptions about history, reminding us that the story of human invention may be far older and far more complex than we think. And so, the battery rests, silent, unlit, yet alive with possibility. Was it truly an ancient source of power, or simply a vessel that inspires modern imagination? The truth may remain hidden, locked away with the secrets of time. Rongo script on a remote island in the South Pacific, carved into wooden tablets, lies one of the world's most enduring mysteries. A script that no one alive today can read. This is the Rongo script of Easter Island. Discovered in the 19th century, Rongo is unlike any other writing system known to humanity. The glyphs, carved with obsidian or shark-tooth tools, depict human-like figures, animals, plants, and geometric shapes. They run in a unique pattern called reverse boustrophedon, where lines are written from left to right, and then the tablet is flipped upside down for the next line. Such complexity suggests a fully developed writing system, not merely symbolic art. The origins of Rongo remain uncertain. Some scholars believe it may have been created after the arrival of Europeans, influenced by written language. Others argue it was developed independently, long before Western contact. If the latter is true, it would place Easter Island among the few places on Earth where writing emerged on its own. That would be extraordinary because only a handful of civilizations, the Sumerians, Egyptians, Chinese, and Maya, are thought to have invented writing independently. Could the people of Rapa Nui belong on that list? The mystery deepens because no one can translate it. Only about 24 tablets exist today, scattered in museums and private collections around the world. Many were lost, burned, or destroyed during colonial times. Without a larger collection or a Rosetta Stone equivalent, decoding the script has proven nearly impossible. Scholars have attempted comparisons to Polynesian languages, statistical analyses of repeating glyphs, and even computer algorithms. Patterns have emerged, but meaning remains elusive. Adding to the puzzle is the cultural context. Oral tradition on the island speaks of Kohorongorongo, talking boards. Some accounts suggest that only a small elite could read them, perhaps priests or chiefs, and that the knowledge was passed down secretly. Others hint at ritualistic uses, maybe for genealogies, myths, or sacred chants. But with the devastation brought by slave raids, disease, and cultural suppression in the 19th century, the last keepers of this knowledge were lost. Today, the tablets remain silent witnesses of a vanished world. Each glyph seems to whisper a fragment of meaning, yet together they form an unreadable chorus. Were they records of history, maps of the stars, guides to rituals now forgotten? Or perhaps they preserve something even more profound about the worldview of the Rapa Nui people. As long as the tablets remain undeciphered, the story of Rongorongo is incomplete. Each attempt to unlock its secrets only adds another layer to the puzzle. The wooden boards endure, fragile yet timeless, waiting for the day when someone, somewhere, might finally give them a voice. And until then, the question lingers. What hidden knowledge still lies carved in those silent lines of wood, just beyond our understanding? Moai statues of Easter Island for centuries. On a remote island in the Pacific Ocean, hundreds of silent stone figures have stood watch, giant guardians whose origins still puzzle historians and archaeologists. These are the Moai of Easter Island. Rising from the grassy slopes of volcanic craters, the statues, some towering over 30 feet tall and weighing more than 80 tons, were carved by the Rapa Nui people between the 13th and 16th centuries. Each Moai carries a solemn, elongated face, with deep-set eyes and a gaze fixed firmly toward the land. Their expressions are stoic, as though they hold within them the memory of a forgotten past. But questions remain. How did a small, isolated community transport such massive figures across the island without wheels, animals, or advanced machinery? Theories abound. Some suggest wooden sledges and ropes. Others believe the statues were walked into place, carefully rocked side to side like a living being. Experimental archaeology has shown this may indeed have been possible, but no explanation fully captures the scale of the achievement. The purpose of the Moai is just as mysterious. Many researchers believe they were built to honor ancestors, serving as conduits of spiritual power and guardianship for the clans who created them. The statues always face inward, toward the villages, never toward the sea. Perhaps a sign of their role in watching over the living, not protecting from external threats. Their placement is not random. Many stand upon stone platforms called ahu, sacred ceremonial sites that also served as burial places. Yet, despite their grandeur, most Moai today are half-buried or toppled. Some still lie unfinished in quarries, abandoned mid-creation, as if the carvers suddenly vanished. What caused this? Was it warfare among rival clans? Ecological collapse after deforestation? Or the arrival of European explorers in the 18th century, bringing conflict and disease? Each possibility adds another layer to the enigma. Perhaps most haunting are the statues' hidden secrets. Beneath the soil, archaeologists have discovered that many Moai have bodies extending far below the surface, covered with intricate carvings that were long concealed from view. These buried details raise new questions. Were the statues meant to be seen in full? Or did the Rapa Nui intentionally let time and earth swallow parts of their creations? Today, the Moai remain silent witnesses, their stone faces worn by wind and rain, yet still radiating a presence that transcends centuries. They embody both the triumphs and the mysteries of a civilization that thrived in one of the world's most isolated places. And as the waves continue to crash against the rocky shores of Easter Island, the Moai stand firm, gazing endlessly inland, watching, waiting, leaving us to wonder. What truths do they guard, and what stories remain forever locked within their stone faces? Puma Punku high in the Bolivian Andes, at an altitude of nearly 12,000 feet, lies a site that continues to puzzle historians, archaeologists, and engineers alike. This place is called Puma Punku, a ruined complex that forms part of the ancient Tiwanaku civilization. At first glance, it appears to be nothing more than scattered stone blocks, weathered by time. But on closer inspection, these stones reveal a level of craftsmanship that seems almost impossible for the era in which they were created. Puma Punku's structures are built from massive stone slabs, some weighing over 100 tons. These blocks were carved from red sandstone and andesite, materials that would have required immense effort to quarry and transport across great distances. Archaeologists believe the Tiwanaku people constructed this site around 500 to 600 AD, centuries before the Inca Empire rose to prominence. Yet, the precision of the stonework has led many to question whether the tools available at that time could have produced such results. What stands out most are the geometrically perfect cuts etched into the stones. Right angles, interlocking shapes, and drill-like holes suggest methods of engineering far more advanced than what is typically associated with pre-Columbian societies. Some blocks fit together so tightly that not even a blade of grass can slip through the seams. The so-called H-blocks are particularly striking, carved with uniformity and symmetry, as though mass-produced by machinery. Yet no machinery is known to have existed in that region at the time. The purpose of Pumapunku also remains uncertain. Some scholars suggest it was a temple or ceremonial complex, possibly a spiritual center for the Tiwanaku culture. Others believe it was part of a larger architectural project that was never completed. The devastation scattered across the site hints at a sudden and catastrophic event, perhaps an earthquake, that tore the structures apart. Still, no conclusive evidence points to why Pumapunku was abandoned or left in ruins. Modern analysis has provided more insight but not more certainty. Engineers marvel at the accuracy of the stone cuts, while geologists confirm that the stones were indeed quarried miles away, raising questions about how they were moved across rugged terrain. Experimental archaeology has attempted to replicate these techniques using only stone and bronze tools, but the results fall short of the original precision. And so, Pumapunku remains suspended between what we know and what we cannot yet explain. It stands as both a testament to human ingenuity and a reminder of the limits of our understanding. Was this complex simply the pinnacle of Tiwanaku craftsmanship? Or does it point toward a chapter of history we have yet to uncover? The stones wait in silence, their story incomplete, inviting us to keep searching for the answers hidden within their ancient geometry. Yonaguni Monument beneath the clear blue waters off the coast of Yonaguni Island in Japan lies one of the most debated underwater discoveries of the modern age. Massive stone formations, rising from the ocean floor, present shapes so precise, so structured, that one cannot help but wonder, were these works of nature or the remnants of an ancient civilization now lost to time? The site was first brought to global attention in 1986, when a local diver exploring the seabed stumbled upon what seemed to be a colossal staircase carved into stone. Since then, the Yonaguni Monument has sparked fascination, controversy, and endless debate among archaeologists, geologists, and historians alike. Descending into the depths, the monument reveals vast terraces, angular platforms, and steps that appear chiseled by deliberate hands. Some surfaces are sharp and straight, intersecting at right angles rarely found in natural geological formations. Massive blocks seem aligned with uncanny precision, almost as if they were part of a submerged temple or fortress. The largest structure stretches nearly 150 meters in length and stands more than 25 meters high, dimensions that rival the great monuments of antiquity. Supporters of the ancient civilization theory believe the monument could date back more than 10,000 years, a time when sea levels were significantly lower. They suggest Yonaguni may once have been part of a thriving coastal settlement, later engulfed by rising oceans at the end of the last ice age. Some even connect it to legends of lost lands, tales passed down through cultures that speak of great floods and forgotten kingdoms. On the other hand, many geologists maintain that the formations are entirely natural, shaped by tectonic activity and the fracturing of sandstone. The region is seismically active, and the sharp, block-like forms could be explained by natural erosion, where cracks expand over time and entire slabs break away in geometric patterns. From this perspective, the monument is no more than a remarkable coincidence, a geological marvel mistaken for human craftsmanship. Yet, among the ruins or formations, depending on belief, divers have reported what appear to be supporting structures. Stone pillars, isolated walls, and even a carving that resembles the face of a human figure. While none of these features are universally agreed upon, they add layers of intrigue, blurring the line between fact and interpretation. So, is Yonaguni a submerged city built by ancient hands, or the patient artistry of nature itself? The ocean keeps its secrets well. Each dive reveals both clarity and confusion, both evidence and doubt. And as currents sweep across the silent terraces, the monument remains suspended between two worlds: history and geology, myth and reality. Perhaps it is in this uncertainty that its greatest mystery resides, leaving us to wonder what other truths may still be hidden beneath the sea. Callanish stones high on the windswept hills of Scotland's Isle of Lewis, a circle of ancient stones rises against the sky. Known as the Callanish stones, they stand silent and weathered, yet carry within them questions that time has never fully answered. Laid out over 4,000 years ago, this arrangement of nearly 50 standing stones forms one of the most striking megalithic sites in Europe. Their positions are deliberate: a central circle, avenues that stretch outwards, and solitary stones placed with purpose. Archaeologists believe they were erected during the late Neolithic period, around 2900 BC, yet their true role remains a puzzle. Some suggest the stones functioned as an astronomical calendar. When the midsummer sun sets, or when the full moon hovers low on the horizon, alignments can be traced between the standing stones. To those who place them, these events may have marked the passage of time, the change of seasons, or perhaps rituals tied to fertility and renewal. Others see in them a place of gathering, a sacred space where ceremonies unfolded in rhythms we can no longer reconstruct. Excavations around the site have revealed traces of ancient dwellings and a burial cairn at its heart. These discoveries suggest that the stones were not isolated monuments, but part of a living landscape, woven into the daily and spiritual lives of the people who built them. And yet, as with so many ancient structures, interpretation remains limited. We can measure, map, and date the stones, but not step entirely into the minds of their makers. Legends, too, cling to Callanish. In local folklore, the stones are said to be giants, frozen in place for refusing to convert to Christianity. Other tales imagine them as markers of ancient gods, or as a meeting point between earth and sky. These stories, passed through generations, only add layers to the enigma. Even today, standing among the Callanish stones feels unlike any other experience. The air is heavy with presence. The stones seem less like relics and more like witnesses, keeping secrets older than recorded history. Tourists and researchers alike walk their avenues, searching for meaning. Yet what they find often raises more questions than answers. Were these stones truly built to map the heavens? Did they serve as a temple, a calendar, or a tomb? Or were they something beyond the categories we can imagine, an expression of belief and purpose that defies modern explanation? The Callanish stones endure, silent and immovable, while centuries shift around them. And though science offers fragments of understanding, the deeper truth remains hidden. Perhaps that is their greatest power, to remind us that even in a world of knowledge, some mysteries are meant to remain standing, waiting, just beyond reach. Chichen Itza, in the dense jungles of Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula, stands a city that whispers of a civilization both advanced and enigmatic. This is Chichen Itza, once the beating heart of the Maya world, where stone pyramids and temples still guard secrets from centuries past. At its center rises the Pyramid of Kukulkan, also known as El Castillo, a structure that is as much a calendar as it is a monument. With 365 steps, one for each day of the year, it demonstrates the Mayas' extraordinary grasp of astronomy and mathematics. Twice a year, during the spring and autumn equinox, the setting sun creates a shadow that slithers down the pyramid staircase, forming the illusion of a serpent descending. To the Maya, this was no accident. It was a sacred moment, a cosmic event, uniting earth and sky in perfect harmony. But Chichen Itza is far more than a single pyramid. Scattered across its grounds are wonders that hint at a society deeply attuned to the cosmos. The Temple of the Warriors, with its forest of carved columns, suggests a city both ceremonial and militaristic. The Great Ball Court, the largest in Mesoamerica, echoes with the memory of ritual games whose stakes may have been life and death. Did the losers face sacrifice, or was the honor reserved for the victors? Archaeologists still debate the rules of this sacred sport. Then there is the mysterious Cenote Sagrado, the sacred well. For the Maya, this natural sinkhole was a direct link to the underworld, a portal to the gods. Excavations have revealed offerings of jade, gold, and even human remains at its depths. Were these sacrifices acts of devotion or desperate pleas during times of drought? The waters keep their silence. Astronomy, mathematics, religion, and ritual. At Chichen Itza, these threads are woven together into a fabric of meaning that modern scholars are still trying to unravel. Why did the Maya build their city in such alignment with celestial cycles? How did they achieve such architectural precision without metal tools or the wheel? And why, by the 15th century, was this great city suddenly abandoned? Some suggest warfare, others point to drought, famine, or internal strife. Yet none of these explanations fully account for the silence that fell over Chichen Itza. The once thriving metropolis was left to the encroaching jungle, its plazas and temples preserved as if time itself chose to pause. Today, as visitors walk among its ruins, the city stands as both a monument to human achievement and a reminder of unanswered questions. Chichen Itza reveals much about the Maya, yet with every discovery, new mysteries emerge. And so the stones endure, silent, immovable, and watchful, waiting for the day their final secrets may come to light. Mayan codices hidden deep within the fragments of history lies a puzzle that has fascinated archaeologists and historians for centuries. The Mayan codices. These rare, ancient books are among the last surviving voices of a civilization whose knowledge and traditions were nearly erased. The Maya, one of the most advanced cultures of pre-Columbian America, developed a complex system of writing, astronomy, mathematics, and ritual. Much of this was recorded in painted manuscripts crafted from the bark of fig trees. These codices were folded like screens, their surfaces coated in lime to create a white background. Onto this, scribes carefully inscribed symbols, calendars, and scenes depicting gods, rituals, and astronomical events. Yet, today, only 4 authenticated codices remain: the Dresden, Madrid, Paris, and Grolier. Each one offers only a glimpse into the vast body of knowledge that once existed. The Dresden Codex, perhaps the most studied, is renowned for its detailed astronomical tables, precise predictions of solar eclipses, Venus cycles, and agricultural calendars. The Madrid Codex reveals ritual practices and divinatory guides used by Mayan priests. The Paris Codex contains astrological symbolism, while the Grolier Codex, discovered in Mexico in the 20th century, remains controversial, with scholars debating its authenticity for decades. The mystery deepens when we ask, what happened to the rest? By some accounts, thousands of codices may have existed, carefully guarded in temples and libraries. But during the Spanish conquest of the 16th century, most were destroyed. Missionaries and officials, regarding the Mayan texts as pagan or dangerous, burned them in massive bonfires. Diego de Landa, a Spanish bishop in Yucatan, described how these manuscripts were committed to flames, an act that obliterated centuries of accumulated knowledge in a single sweep. What survived, then, feels like fragments of a much larger story. Scholars pore over the intricate hieroglyphs, yet vast sections remain undeciphered. The codices seem to hold not just records of rituals and celestial events, but glimpses into how the Maya perceived time, destiny, and the gods who ruled their universe. The interplay between myth and mathematics, faith and astronomy, reflects a worldview at once foreign and astonishingly sophisticated. And there are further questions. Were other codices hidden away, buried beneath temples, or sealed in caves, waiting to be discovered? Could more of them have survived in private collections, their existence unknown to the world? If just 4 codices can reveal such detail about astronomy and ritual life, what untold knowledge lies in the manuscripts that were lost? The Mayan codices stand as fragile survivors of a cultural legacy that nearly vanished. They invite us to read across the centuries, but they also remind us how much has slipped into silence. In the end, we are left with only fragments, clues etched in bark and ink, traces of a civilization whose story is still waiting to be fully told. Kensington Runestone, the story begins in the quiet fields of Minnesota, where a farmer's discovery in 1898 would ignite one of the most debated mysteries in North American history. Buried among the roots of a tree near the small town of Kensington lay a massive slab of gray sandstone. What made it extraordinary was not its size, but the strange carvings etched across its surface, runic letters, resembling the writing of medieval Scandinavia. This artifact would come to be known as the Kensington Runestone. At first glance, it appeared to tell a simple story. The inscription, translated from the runes, speaks of a group of Norse explorers, 8 Gotalanders and 22 Norwegians, who journeyed deep into the interior of North America in the year 1362. The text describes their expedition, their struggles, and the tragic loss of 10 men. If authentic, it would mean Vikings had not only reached North America centuries before Columbus, but had ventured far inland, well beyond the eastern seaboard. Yet, from the very moment of its discovery, the stone became a battlefield of opinion. Experts in linguistics, archaeology, and history dissected every letter. Some declared it an obvious forgery, pointing to inconsistencies in the language and the suspiciously modern style of the runes. Others argued that regional dialects and lesser-known rune forms could explain these peculiarities. The debate only deepened as scholars questioned how such an artifact could remain hidden beneath a tree's roots for centuries without greater evidence of Norse presence in the region. The runestone was not the only clue. Over the years, scattered reports have emerged of Norse-style artifacts in North America, from weapons to coins, though many of these finds remain disputed. The Kensington discovery, however, continues to draw both skeptics and believers. For some, it represents a forgotten chapter of exploration, a hint that medieval seafarers reached farther than we imagine. For others, it is a carefully crafted hoax, perhaps created by Swedish immigrants eager to establish a sense of heritage in their new homeland. What makes the mystery endure is not just the inscription itself, but the broader implications it raises. If genuine, the runestone would alter the timeline of American history, rewriting our understanding of pre-Columbian exploration. If false, it stands as a reminder of how easily history can be shaped or invented by human hands. More than a century has passed, and the stone still rests in a small museum in Minnesota. Visitors come face to face with its carved surface, running their eyes across the ancient-looking runes, caught between wonder and doubt. Was this the voice of Viking explorers reaching out from the 14th century? Or the clever work of a farmer and his contemporaries, leaving behind a puzzle to be argued for generations? The Kensington Runestone remains silent, its meaning locked in stone, leaving us to wonder which story it truly tells. Dead Man's Chest treasure hidden in the lore of the Caribbean lies a name that has captured imaginations for centuries. Dead Man's Chest, a mysterious island, a pirate's tale, and a treasure that may never have been found. But how much of this story is legend, and how much is rooted in truth? The phrase Dead Man's Chest first entered popular culture through Robert Louis Stevenson's novel Treasure Island. In it, Stevenson wrote of 15 men on the dead man's chest, a line so haunting that it became etched into the mythology of piracy. Yet the curious part is this: Stevenson did not invent the name. He borrowed it from real maps and real accounts of a small, uninhabited island in the British Virgin Islands, an island still known today as Dead Chest Island. According to maritime records, the island is nothing more than a rocky, barren outcrop, with steep cliffs and very little vegetation. But sailors of the 17th century told a darker story. They claimed that the infamous pirate Edward Teach, better known as Blackbeard, used this desolate place as a punishment ground. Some legends describe how he marooned 15 rebellious crew members on the island with nothing but a cutlass and a bottle of rum. Left with no food, no shelter, and no way off, their fate was sealed. When ships later passed by, only bones were said to remain. The treasure enters the tale in whispers and fragments. Some versions suggest that Blackbeard left a chest of plunder on the island, a prize never recovered. Others argue that the chest was never an object at all but a metaphor, an entire island serving as a coffin for the doomed sailors. Archaeologists who have surveyed Dead Chest Island report finding little. No settlements, no artifacts, only rough terrain and crashing waves. Yet diverse in surrounding waters have occasionally recovered relics. Iron tools, fragments of weaponry, and coins washed into the reefs below. What fuels the mystery is the way history and legend blur. Stevenson may have amplified a sailor's tale into a timeless myth, but every myth begins with a seed of reality. Pirates did maroon men on deserted islands. Chests of treasure were hidden, and many were never recovered. Could Dead Chest Island be one of those places where fact and fiction converge? Today, the island remains uninhabited, its cliffs lashed by relentless storms, its reefs dangerous to approach. Tourists who sail by often pause to gaze at its stark silhouette, imagining the cries of desperate sailors or the glint of something hidden beneath the sand. Perhaps the island's greatest treasure is not gold or jewels, but the enduring story itself. A story that continues to invite explorers, historians, and dreamers to wonder what lies beyond the rocks, beneath the waves, and deep within the silence of Dead Man's Chest. Because in the Caribbean, some mysteries never die. Sugar idol deep in the heart of the Ural Mountains, buried beneath layers of ancient peat, a discovery was made that would challenge our understanding of human history. In 1894, miners unearthed a massive wooden figure, carved from larch and preserved in near-perfect condition. It would come to be known as the Sugar Idol, a monument unlike anything else from the distant past. Standing over 5 meters tall in its original form, the idol is the world's oldest known wooden sculpture, dated to more than 12,000 years ago, twice as old as the pyramids of Giza. At first glance, its towering frame is simple. A long body, a flat face, geometric lines etched across its surface. Yet, the deeper one looks, the more mysterious it becomes. Researchers found intricate carvings running vertically down its body, zigzags, chevrons, human-like faces. Some patterns seem decorative, while others suggest symbolic meaning. Were they a form of storytelling? A code left by people long before the invention of writing? Or perhaps a spiritual guide for a society whose beliefs have been lost to time? What makes the Sugar Idol especially puzzling is the context of its creation. 12,000 years ago, hunter-gatherer groups roamed Eurasia, leaving behind tools, bones, and cave paintings. But a sculpture of this scale, with such detail, implies a culture with not only practical survival skills, but also deep symbolic thought. The idol suggests that humans of the Mesolithic period were capable of complex expression, far earlier than previously assumed. Radiocarbon dating confirmed its incredible age, but the purpose remains a matter of debate. Some scholars believe the idol was connected to rituals of death or rebirth, perhaps serving as a guardian between worlds. Others suggest it was a record of myths or cosmological beliefs, etched into wood-like chapters of a forgotten book. The fact that it was placed in a peat bog may not have been an accident. Waterlogged earth often held sacred meaning for ancient cultures. Today, fragments of the Sugar Idol are preserved in a museum in Ekaterinburg, Russia. Visitors who stand before it describe a quiet, unsettling presence. Its blank eyes, its enigmatic carvings, seem to look back through the centuries, carrying secrets from a world that has long vanished. And so the questions remain. Was this towering figure a warning, a map, or a memory carved into wood? Did it tell the story of a people or something far larger, something about the world itself? The Sugar Idol continues to stand in silence, holding on to answers we may never fully uncover. Georgia Guidestones in the quiet farmlands of Elbert County, Georgia, stood a monument that carried more questions than answers. Rising nearly 20 feet into the air, the Georgia Guidestones were a set of massive granite slabs, arranged in a design reminiscent of both ancient monuments and modern enigmas. For decades, this structure inspired debate, awe, and suspicion. The monument was erected in 1980, commissioned by a man who used the pseudonym R.C. Christian. To this day, his true identity and those he represented remains unknown. Built from local granite, the Guidestones were designed with astonishing precision. Each of the 6 slabs was positioned to track celestial events. One aligned with the North Star, another with the sun solstices and equinoxes. The entire structure functioned as a kind of modern-day Stonehenge, linking the present to timeless rhythms of the universe. But it was the inscriptions that drew the most attention. Carved into the stones were 10 guiding principles, written in 8 major world languages, including English, Spanish, Swahili, Sanskrit, and Mandarin. The messages called for humanity to maintain balance with nature, to keep population under 500 million, to unite mankind under a new common language, and to seek harmony rather than conflict. To some, these guidelines represented an appeal for global peace and sustainability. To others, they read like the blueprint for a shadowy new world order. Local residents often referred to the guidestones as the American Stonehenge. Scholars, journalists, and conspiracy theorists visited the site, each drawing their own conclusions. Some saw a visionary warning about the fragility of civilization in the face of nuclear war, overpopulation, and environmental collapse. Others believed it was a coded message from secret societies, embedded in granite to outlast governments, wars, and even civilizations themselves. Over the years, the guidestones became a stage for controversy. Vandalized repeatedly, they stirred debates about freedom, secrecy, and the clash between private visions and public space. Then, in July of 2022, the mystery deepened further. After one of the slabs was severely damaged in an explosion, the monument was completely dismantled, leaving behind only rubble and unanswered questions. What remains now are fragments of granite and an enduring enigma. Who was R.C. Christian? Why did he choose Georgia as the site? Were the inscriptions a message of hope, a warning of disaster, or a plan meant to guide humanity through future chaos? The guidestones are gone, but their message lingers. A monument once standing tall in the open fields now survives only in memory, photographs, and speculation. And perhaps that was always the point, to leave us wondering not only about the stones, but about ourselves and the future paths humanity may choose to follow. Book of Soiga, hidden deep within the archives of history, lies a manuscript that has puzzled scholars for centuries. A book whispered about in secret circles, said to hold forbidden knowledge. This is the Book of Soiga. First appearing in the 16th century, the mysterious text came into the possession of John Dee, the celebrated mathematician, astrologer, and advisor to Queen Elizabeth I. Dee devoted much of his life to unlocking the secrets of the universe, and when the Book of Soiga came into his hands, he believed he had found a work of immense importance. Written in Latin, the book spans hundreds of pages, filled with strange incantations, treatises on astrology, and encrypted tables of letters that no one could fully understand. To the untrained eye, much of the manuscript seems nonsensical. Long passages of arcane references to angels, demons, and the hidden structure of creation. But Dee was convinced it contained a deeper truth. He worked tirelessly to decipher its codes, yet the patterns within the letter tables defied him. Frustrated, Dee turned to his mystical practices. Through seances with his medium, Edward Kelly, he sought to consult angels themselves for guidance. According to Dee's own accounts, he asked the Archangel Uriel about the nature of the book. The response was chilling. Only the Archangel Michael could unlock its true meaning. It was said that the encrypted tables contained knowledge forbidden to humanity, knowledge of the time and manner of human death. To possess such a book, Uriel warned, was dangerous. After Dee's death, the Book of Soiga vanished from history. For centuries, it was thought lost, perhaps destroyed. Then, in 1994, 2 surviving copies were rediscovered in the archives of the British Library and Oxford's Bodleian Library. Modern scholars immediately took interest, but even with advanced computing, the encrypted tables resisted easy interpretation. Some patterns have been uncovered, suggesting a form of algorithm at work, a code centuries ahead of its time. But no full solution has ever been achieved. What makes the mystery even more unsettling is that the Book of Soiga seems to be more than just a curiosity of Renaissance magic. Its contents weave together astrology, biblical references, and ritual practices in a way that suggests it was intended as a working manual of esoteric knowledge. Was it simply the product of a fertile imagination? Or was it designed as a map to hidden truths, waiting for the right key to unlock them? Today, the manuscript rests safely under the care of scholars, but its deeper meaning remains as elusive as ever. For some, it is nothing more than a relic of mystical obsession. For others, it is a reminder that knowledge can be dangerous, and that certain truths may lie forever just out of reach. And so, The Book of Soiga remains closed to us, a puzzle carved in ink and parchment, asking a question no one has yet answered. What secrets are written in a language only angels can read?